Hello, Soul Fam. How's it going, guys? Welcome in to anyone who is catching this later on. This is a live YouTube Canon Witchery Episode 1 video, I guess is the best way to put it. For those of y'all who may not know me, my name is Kat N. Monroe. That is my handle on Instagram as well. Canon Witchery is not only my business, but it's my YouTube handle, as you can obviously see. People are going to start slowly swarming in. You guys are free to use the chat feature on desktop mode, by the way, in case you want to have a little chit chat with me. Have a little chit chat. Like and subscribe and everything else I'm actually supposed to say in a YouTube video. This is the very first YouTube live I have ever done in my life, which is kind of exciting and also nerve-wracking at the same time. So that being said, a couple of disclaimers before we actually begin, okay? Hi Sarah, a lot of what I'm going to be saying today is not at all a fact. I am not an astrologer. I'm not a numerologer. I'm not an anythingologer. I am simply an intuitive reader. I do use tarot as one form of connecting to source, but I primarily use various other senses alongside my clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. So in not so smart people way of saying that is psychic seeing / fortune telling, hearing, as well as feeling, amongst other things. So I do receive a lot of messages quite often from my guides, from source, from energy, depicting a little bit more of like, what is there to come? In fact, I was just turning off my cell phone there. I don't want that to be distracting. And I have been sharing some of these predictions in my Patreon, which is disclaimer number 2, alongside it number 1 not being all a fact. Guys, you can take this as seriously or not as you want. I don't really quite care. Okay, hello friends. I'm not going to be unhandled. What? Something's corrupt? Oh my God. Okay, I don't know, guys. Technical problems, which is such a Mercury retrograde thing to just happen. In case this disconnects, thanks, like and subscribe, and have a great day, because I don't know what the hell that was about. But anyways, disclaimer number 2, alongside, again, nothing's really quite a fact of what I am saying. A lot of the specifics I will be keeping for Patreon, okay? This is, after all, a public platform. YouTube gods will be upset with me if I talk too much specifics, name names without having facts. We are, after all, living in a pandemic and an ever-changing society right now, and as much as I want some eyes on me, I don't really quite need a specific type of eye on me, okay? So heads up, if you guys want the real scoop, go to patreon.com/KNM Witchery. That is where you will find daily posts from me. I talk about the collective energy. I break it down in the extendeds when I go into everybody's astrological signs. So you can check out your sun, moon, rising, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, whatever the fuck you resonate with on a daily basis. And then on Sundays, I go on live for about 2 to 3 hours to talk about the weekly vibe, sometimes to break it down and give patrons free readings on there, alongside a bunch of other things. So check that out. It should be all in the description below if I did my job correctly. So let's move on. This video is going to be about Mercury retrograde in Aquarius 2021. It does start, or it did start by the time you guys obviously see this, on the 14th and 15th of January, and it's going to stay around until the post-shadow period is done by March 11th. Again, not an astrologer, so I'm not going to be talking about all these conjunctions and what that means to your not my expertise. What I am going to do, though, is talk about the emotional energies, the mental energies, the spiritual energies, advancements, how you can actually utilize this retrograde to your advantage, and how to, in a way, acclimate to it as well. So stay tuned on that. Outside of that, I will be doing a little bit more of like in other news, if you even want to say it that much. I'm not speaking proper English and grammatics right now, but that's okay. I will be diving into the various messages that I had already been delivered. This is not going to be a tarot session, but in the end, should I desire to pull something from tarot. We'll see if Spirit has anything in addition to add of everything that I had downloaded earlier on. I did do some notes here, so like, chill out, guys. This is a live. I really want to make sure all the information comes out. So like, no, I'm not reading a script or nothing. It's literally scribbles. So let me have it. Let's talk about Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. Down to the nitty gritty now that all introductions and protocols and everything's looking done. By the way, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And join my Patreon. And I do take individual readings too. That's also down below. Anyways, we're done. This Mercury retrograde is really going to allow us to take a huge step back. This is now a point from which a lot of us have already begun reevaluating people in our lives, rethinking, reviewing, reflecting, reprioritizing. We are now collectively gearing up throughout this shadow period of Mercury to become more of our authentic selves, okay? With that authentic self will come the need for accountability, which I will touch on a little bit later. Let's just first talk about the shadow period and what you guys can expect, okay? A lot of confusion is going to start seeping in. This is where you guys could be going around your day and out of nowhere feel light anxiety. This anxiety is a lot more so of the collective energy that you are feeling that you are not mostly aware to. This retrograde in particular, and actually every single retrograde this year, is falling within a air sign. So it is going to be a lot of the mind. It is going to be very calculating. It is actually going to allow you to have more control than we've been typically used to throughout Mercury retrogrades. But until that happens too, we also need to acclimate to a lot of the changes that are happening to us as well, around us and within us. So going out right now is a little bit more ill-advised. I feel a lot of people outside of quarantining and wanting to actually go out, once you guys are out, there is this bottling up feeling that is happening throughout the collective. And I am not at all in shock and awe about it. We need to really allow this new cycle to unfold, and we need to just simply give into it and not try to understand everything up front, but rather take care of the things that we currently do have control over. This Aquarius Mercury retrograde is going to bring a lot of awareness on things that as a collective, as a global whole, we have not at all been prepared for. A lot of secrets are going to be coming out due to this accountability and authenticity wave that is going to hit. Basically, fucking cancel culture. Hands down cancel culture, but it's actually going to be based on political figures, celebrities that are even of the higher caliber than we, basically people that you've never expected to have scandals on, but also are not 1,000% surprised. Conspiracies, I don't know, we'll find out after these messages. Hello, friends. Thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. It does mean a lot to me. Sorry, let's talk about the confusion. There is going to be a lot of back and forth. What is it that we really want to accomplish in this life? What do we want to leave behind? Are we taking our past into our future, or are we simply focusing on right here and now? There is a lot of places that energy has been taking us lately as the energies are stirring up, as Mercury is appearing to go backwards. Remember, when a planet is retrograde, by the way, guys, it's not actually going backwards. It just appears like it is, which is another way of looking into our shadows. It is the aspect of ourselves that we need to actually dig deeper in, and it is where we cast light. Mercury happens 3 times a year for a damn reason, and that's mainly because humans as a species are incredibly stubborn creatures. We don't want to let go. We don't want to evolve, even though we're out there hungry for change. That sort of stir-up is going to continue to happen within society and the collective, and unless you are fully aware and protected from it, going outside is going to reel in a lot of that anxiety. And then, of course, that will reflect as far as confusion, as far as your direction goes in life, what to do, what to stress about, what not to stress about, what tomorrow will bring. This year in general, I don't really want to take away too much from the 2021 psychic forecast video that I will eventually be making, hopefully for Sunday. Don't quote me on it. It's been a freaking week. Nevertheless, I don't want to take away too much from that, but it is going to be a year where we have to be a lot more aware of our own intuition and pay attention to our own beliefs more than we do with the facts so much. Now, that's not to say that we are not to fact check, but there is going to be a plethora of different resources that are going to be fed to us, especially throughout this shadow period. That's really going to confuse people even more, you see, because energy manifests into energy. And if we know it's already confusing and anxious out there, that's only going to build it and give it more of that energy. So the way to take away from that confusion is to actually maintain focus on the things that you do know, the things that you can appreciate in life. You're here and now. This is a point of which we really need to say goodbye to normalcy, because what was normal is not going to be normal anymore. There is going to be a new normal that we are going to be stepping into as a collective. 2021 is going to be a very slow moving and yet progressively changing year. A lot of what we had just wished for in 2020 is going to slowly become manifested in 2021. I will give an example on that a little bit more later, going back more to, I guess, the physical self and what we'll be going through energetically speaking on an individual basis. We're going to actually want to hermit for a little bit longer, mainly because a lot of us are going to be susceptible to the outside energy, that we're going to feel that our loneliness is actually going to be the safest spot that we can possibly be in, which is partially true, at least for the beginning. You also need to be transmuting a lot of that energy into the things that you should be rethinking, reviewing, retrying. You are absolutely required to pick up courses that you dropped and continue them. It's not necessarily a time to start something new. This is something, or a time, a period, this Mercury retrograde, for you to really go within and start being serious about what your direction is in this lifetime, in this year. This is where we start taking a lot of those resolutions that we may or may not have placed in the beginning of the year, and we bring them into actuality, and we transmute a lot of our actions into goals that we can actually obtain. That will seem like it's going to be a never-ending story, okay? It's not going to be easy for us to gain the success very easily this year, and that's mainly because we need to progressively change, okay? Too much change too drastically. Let me just put in this perspective, because a lot of people, again, 2021, it's like, well, can this just be over? Can we just, dude, if this just ends like now, it'll still be chaos. If it doesn't end, it will still be chaos. We are now part of an evolution that is happening, except we're not all dying out. We are simply being reborn right now. And I know this sounds really wacky doodle, so like just stick with me as I go along with what this Mercury retrograde is going to bring as far as your awareness goes, okay? A lot of our foundations are going to start breaking down, and we will absolutely start seeing that through the bulk of Mercury retrograde, which, as per my notes, January 30th until February 18th. Give or take a couple of 48 hours there. Energy always stretches, okay? So between January 30th and the 18th, there is going to be a notable rise and fall of the elites, okay? This is where truths are going to start coming out slowly in the background, where we're going to be hearing as a collective a lot of rumors, which is why, again, I am saying either fact check or trust your own gut. Because what is going to be fed to us from the 14th until now, and moving on until post-shadow period is going to be a little different. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit. Let me rewind that. This is why I like recording videos, because I get to edit this kind of babble in between, but live is live, so you get what the fuck you get. I'm not supposed to swear. Sorry. Shit. Okay. Anyways, guys, what was I saying? The retrograde is going to really bring in a lot of those news sources that need to seriously be triple checked in life in general, because they're going to be rattling us. They're also going to be hella contradicting. You see, there's going to be facts that come out, and those facts are somehow going to get deleted and escape the face of the earth. And then there's going to be new developments, and then this is going to come out. And yeah, a lot of you guys are probably thinking, well, like, what's new? It's already been like that. No, try that amplified now, you see, because at this rate, especially with a lot of traveling that has been going on, there are going to be alleged COVID-19 spikes that are predicted. Again, guys, predictions, not facts, predictions. That are predicted to actually start going up between now and the end of January. And they will actually be blaming a lot of this on travel. They will be blaming it on schools being open too soon. And now they're going to start closing down. Somehow already have started, right? So it's going to be a constant change in dynamic where it's like, what facts do we follow? What proof is there really to back these facts up? And what is in fact happening in the background that provides us a clearer picture into the big plan and what we're really doing, right? The government clearly is not giving us too many answers. I'm not going to be diving into that piece too much on YouTube Live. So be sure, please, guys, to check out my patreon.com/KNM Witchery for a little bit more insight on that. Again, I don't want to upset the YouTube gods going in a little bit too specifical there. So I will go into that. But the news that we are going to be getting is the point that I'm making here is really going to start breaking our belief system. There's going to be tabloids coming out about children's tapes. And I'm not talking about Teletubbies. So yeah, just equate that however it is that you want. There's going to be a lot of shock and awe that is going to be rumbling through this entire Mercury retrograde. And the people that we're going to be pointing our fingers on are going to be the people that we believe as a society we can trust. It's going to start cracking the foundation of trust that we have as a society to our leaders. This, again, is all what is happening energetically. Therefore, it will be manifesting in, I don't necessarily want to say riots, but more aggressive protesting as we move into that retrograde bulk after the shadow period. It's going to all start to intensify. A lot of pieces are going to start coming together. A lot of that confusion will be contradicted. A lot more laws will then be implemented. What's the other aspect? Ultimately, a lot of what is going to be crumbling on the outside is going to be brought home with us, okay? This is where we are going to be dealing with a lot of irritation, such as sporadic memory loss. IT issues are one thing. I guess we could touch on that in a little bit too. But you really have to pay attention to what you say and deliver on what it is that you are also saying as well, okay? And what I mean by this is a lot of us are going to be quite frustrated, impacted, triggered, influenced by the external changes that are constantly rattling, constantly changing, and like never being stabilized enough for us to actually get a moment to breathe. It's going to cause a lot of emotional pitfalls at home. A lot of you looking at your own family going, well, what do you have to offer me? You're not even picking up your own slack. You see, the internal world, your home, is going to very well mirror what is happening externally from you, okay? So this is something to really keep in mind when you take a lot of your stresses home from work, or if you work from home, better reason for you to start to slowly dissociate from that, okay? Because you're going to be taking a lot of that external energy back home, and that is going to rattle you up. Mercury retrograde is quite known for breakups, for miscommunications, for impulsive fights and arguments in general. It's not necessarily going to be like that with the Mercury in Aquarius, you see, because we're not going to be too vocal. And this is what I'm saying. If you're going to say something, you need to act on it almost immediately before, number one, you forget, contradict yourself, and then go back to it and kick your own ass or get called out for it, which will create further ruckus all over the place. I lost my train of thought. Shit. It happens to me sometimes, guys. I love how some of you guys are like trying to feed it to me. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hear you. I just had a point to this. Thank you, by the way. So a lot of this memory loss and confusion and disillusion that we're going to be seeing is not actually going to be verbalized. It's going to be thought of. Okay. And it's going to be an interesting time where throughout the bulk of Mercury retrograde, which again is from January 30th until the 18th of February, give or take, it's going to feel like we are in the Matrix. There's going to be a strange hidden illusion on top of our reality. Now, I know I'm speaking in a riddle, but it will start making sense to you once we start actually living through this Mercury retrograde, once a lot of these truths about people that, again, we once depended on are going to start coming out, trickling out. First, it's going to be gossip. Then it's going to be, okay, we need to take more strict measures. This person is apparently going to go to jail, I'm also hearing too. Or there's going to be arrest more so. But I mean, what's the difference these days? You got to really keep it simple with yourself, okay? The Mercury retrograde is going to be one of the biggest mind fucks we have collectively gone through in a very long time. You guys thought 2020 was crazy. This is the manifestation of 2020. And that's what I mean when I say be very mindful about what you say, act on it almost immediately, write everything down, guys. This is going to be a really critical time for you to get strict with your routine. And two, also, again, rethink, reflect. What is it that you really want out of your life? And start realigning to that. Start taking actionable steps to that. That doesn't mean necessarily that you need to start something new, but finish all of the stuff excuse me, that you said you're going to do that you have not. Ooh. 2021 is going to be that time for you to do just that, okay? So I know I'm kind of going all over the place here. That's typically how my mind works. So I'm going through some of my notes here. You guys could very well also be missing a lot of meetings alongside that memory loss. So if you guys have like trips that you have planned, even if it is to and from work, be sure that you triple check your time schedules, especially for any changes, because be prepared for a lot of that, a lot of sporadic changes. Give yourself 15 minutes like in advance or a window time. Even if you're early 15 minutes, take it. Trust me, most of the time you're going to need it. We're also going to be losing a lot of documents when it comes to technology, which I'm actually going to touch on right now too. Throughout the post-retrograde, primarily, it could be all of retrograde. I feel like, okay, no, let me get to the point. Let's talk about IT. IT will definitely be shutting down and doing the Mercury retrograde thing. Okay, so always back up your stuff and like just do the traditional Mercury retrograde protocols here, okay? But on top of that, some websites are sporadically just going to shut down. I had mentioned within my Patreon for the past like week or so, we've been talking about blackouts. A lot of psychics and mediums have actually been picking up on blackouts. Now, what I am seeing is there's going to be sections in the United States, also large provinces and cities in Ontario, Quebec. I also heard Italy earlier too. I'm not really sure if that has any correlation to it. I've seen like the first blackout little bits happen more so in North America, but nevertheless, we're going to put Italy in that too. And these blackouts are not 100% at exactly what it is that you think either, because yes, in some cases, they could actually mean power outages that occur within this Mercury retrograde and the other Mercury retrogrades that we are about to receive in 2021, okay? But these particular blackouts are actually going to be silencers. There are going to be websites suddenly crashing, not working. So if you guys are ever going to be on Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is that you guys are creeping and like, you know, chilling on these days, do not be surprised if for a bulk amount of time, you do not have access to it. Things just shut down. They blame it on service errors. They can blame it on 5G and the further deployment of 5G. So be prepared for a lot of those blackouts, but also be prepared for power outages as well, okay? Just in case, because the thing is, when it comes to fortune telling in general, guys, and predictions, some things are not always what they seem, right? So we need to take blackout as all of the very literal things that it could mean. And it does not necessarily mean a power outage as well, but it's always good to be very prepared for it. Sorry, I'm totally believing that. Yeah, 5G. Yeah, no, seriously. 5G is going to be one of the reasonings behind it. The other reasoning, as I had mentioned before, is more so the silencer, right? As a collective, we're going to want to speak on a lot of these revelations that we're going to be going through. I feel like it's starting to get really dark, isn't it, guys? Sorry. My light's dying and there's no sun, so. And my battery's running low. What is happening? And I'm literally just talking about preparation and stuff, right? Ugh. All right, good. We have everything with us. It's fine. It's fine. Do not panic. We're up and running. We're good. We're good. Enough with the trouble. You're not trouble. God, it's like, okay, you know what? This is not a patron live. Let's bring it back and let's go back to YouTube. So, by the way, join my patreon.com, Witchery. What was I saying? Right, it's going to be a silencer because a lot of the revelations that we're all going to be collectively going throughout this Aquarius Mercury retrograde, we're going to want to share. We're going to want to speak our opinions. We're going to want to fight and be the masses and all of that, which is it's going to be tough to do when you can't and you're taking those privileges, okay? So again, sporadic blackouts. Some it's just going to be on websites. So depending on which area you're in, again, prepare for a lot of those server shutdowns and like weird, stupid excuses for that. Again, some of that excuse could be 5G. I do have a message on 5G, but I think I'm going to keep it for the 2021 reading or video when it's actually a lot more like, it's not on the whim like I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Give you a little bit more entertainment there. Be prepared for a lot of those blackouts. I went shopping earlier this week and I just grabbed a bunch of stuff to like put into my cupboard and like forget about, non-perishables and stuff. Because again, it's better to have and not need than need and not have, especially when we're in situations that are completely unpredictable. A lot of energy will need to surge in one form or another because a lot of flights have not really necessarily been happening, because a lot of people have not been traveling, because the circle of life needs to continue. And I know this is going to sound pretty morbid, but a lot of deaths do occur within Mercury retrograde, and they need to happen somewhere. So this is another really good reason for you guys to be very mindful about all of your day-to-day activities, especially when you're working with IT. You never really know what can happen. So remain grounded, take extra precautions. Again, take those extra 15 minutes where you need it and try to stay very grounded. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius is going to take your mind elsewhere. It's going to place you in a near separate reality because you're not going to be able to dissociate that this is in fact real life. Our mind is a very scary thing if you do not have more control over it. And most of us actually go through life with our mind controlling us alongside with our emotions and so on and so forth. What spirituality really does, in my personal opinion, is it humbles you and it makes you aware of all of the various versions of yourself, of all of your different states. And it allows you to have a greater sense of not even control, but an awareness and an acceptance of what is happening around you, which then makes you less prone to disease, less prone to accidents. It really humbles you and yet connects you enough to just, I don't know, just listen to your own intuition. And a lot of what I'm saying is what's going to be realized as a collective throughout this Aquarius Mercury retrograde, okay? It's not going to be a Mercury retrograde that we are used to, guys. And it's probably all for a damn reason. Closer to the end of it, by the way, we're going to be officially moving into the age of Aquarius. The fact that we are doing this in a Mercury retrograde is insane, okay? The shit that's about to pop off, the restrictions that are going to try to be held down on us. Guys, the tabloids are going to mess you up. So either don't listen to the news or be wary about where it is that you get your information, because it's going to really start messing with your psyche, and you will take this stress home to your family and friends and project and go crazy when all you really need to do is focus on what is right in front of you, what you do have control over. Critical lesson for us going through Aquarius retrograde. I talked about the mass blackouts. I did talk a little bit more about authenticity and accountability, so I can actually dive into that a little bit further. What do I mean by authenticity? A lot of people's resolutions this year were, in fact, yes, in some way of a betterment of themselves. But the general consensus is, I just want to live my life. I just want freedom. I just want to be myself. 2020 has allowed us to really rediscover ourselves, at least those people who have done the work. And I'm assuming that if you're tuned in and still listening to what I got to say, you're right on that boat. So, hey, Soul Fam, nice to see you. And thanks for tuning in again. But we're going to really want to be our own selves because 2020 gave us an opportunity to rediscover that, as I just mentioned, right? So, as we are rediscovering ourselves, we are reinventing ourselves. We are now publishing ourselves in ways that we never have before. It could be forms of expression. It could be perhaps maybe your productivity has changed. Your overall needs and wants and desires have turned into a more selfish direction. And it's been really pleasing for you. Keep doing that. And if you haven't figured it out yet, you're really just denying yourself your own future at this point, and it's stop doing that. Stop doing that. Just align. You got this, okay? With this wave of authenticity though, and people wanting to be true to themselves, this is where we start highlighting our negative flaws as well, okay? Now, as humans we tend to project. We tend to find the flaws in everybody else around us as opposed to taking what accountability. Therefore, with this whole wave of authenticity that will start to build between, again, what already started on the 14th of January up until the 30th of January, so basically until the rest of this month, we're going to start feeling the surge within us that we just want to be ourselves. We just want, like 2021 is going to be the year of the real me, okay? We want to set those foundations. And we're not going to be able to know how, because how can we set a new foundation of ourselves when everything else externally from us is crumbling, right? So it can't be me because I'm ready to do this. So it's your fault. I'm going to make sure everybody else is accountable for my authenticity as opposed to me taking accountability within myself. This is going to be a revelational experience for a lot of us. Your ability to be aware of your progress, your transmutation, and your willingness to actually move into a new direction of being is going to really dictate how much arguments you're going to get into, how many unfortunate series of events, whatever, okay? It's really going to dictate a lot of that. Because our external reflection is going to be a mirror of what we're doing within ourselves, and we cannot change anything externally from us unless we become the change that we wish to see in the world, you see. And a lot of people are not really going to quite understand it that way. So it's going to be forms of attack. It's going to be finger pointing. It is going to be cancel culture all freaking over again. But again, now that it is going to be on a fundamental ground, we're going to be pointing our fingers at our politicians, our leaders, our presidents, our ministers, our healthcare workers even. I feel like some of them may have that finger pointed at them too, because it's almost like, how are we going along with a lot of this? To our police officers, so on and so forth. Now, I don't mean to offend anybody by what I just said. Not at all my intention. This is just the energy that I have picked up throughout this Mercury retrograde, that a lot of people are going to be pointing fingers, you see. A lot of people are going to be looking for somebody else outside of them to blame. And we all must be prepared to have that finger pointed at us, you see. But we also have to be able to dissociate from people's projections and their own troubles and solely focus on what we have control over, independently, individually, in a way that will bring us into a higher form of self that we can see in ourselves. A lot of the readings that I've been having, the one-on-ones, the intuitive readings, people are like, I'm feeling really anxious. It's like there's a change coming and I don't know what. You are that damn change. You see, we're feeling ourselves wake up to new potentialities as a human race. Within this year, again, spoiler alert for that 2021 video, there's going to be new developments of our, I don't know if it's like cerebral capacity and stuff. I don't know. But like, you know how like we only use 10 to 11% or whatever of our brains? Excuse me. They're actually going to be discovering the fact that we're using even more than that. As of 2020 into 2021, discoveries are going to start coming out. Now, the reason for that is, though, too, is because we are moving into a new evolution as humans, as I previously mentioned, right? I'm trying to tie all this around. And before we do that, we still have to break apart and purge our humanness, our finger pointing, as opposed to taking self-accountability. We put it elsewhere. It's going to be a year where you're going to find yourself starting with the Mercury retrograde in Aquarius to separate yourself and really finalize who is coming with you into this new path, this new direction that you have for yourself, and whom is not. And I really am sorry to state that a lot of people will not be going with you. Okay. It is going to feel like a very solitary year once again in 2021, but it is going to be a very independently progressive year if we learn to stay in tune with ourselves. Again, take everything as a fact only if you truly believe it to be so. And do not allow external things to rock you, okay? Definitely second guess everything if you can. Know that there's going to be a lot of intellectual growth that will be occurring within this Aquarius retrograde. That might just make you or other people feel very entitled. A lot of protests, guys. By the way, I do have this on my notes and I didn't mention it. By the end of February, there is going to be discussions of airport closures, shutting down. So as I mentioned earlier on, somewhere in this whole 36-minute video, that a lot of our manifestations and what we wished for and what we put out in 2020 and what we just wished would happen is going to start happening in 2021. But there's going to be cutoffs with that. So there's going to be talks and stresses about airports shutting down. Some of them will, other airlines will remain afloat. And I feel like there's going to be like a swapsies. There's going to be a reopening later on in the year, but let's not focus on that. Let's talk about the closures that may or may not be allegedly happening now. Again, a lot of what I'm getting are messages received from Spirit. So believe this or not, I don't know. We'll see at the end of February, shall we? Come back to me then. But just prepare for a lot of that. So, you know, if you guys were kind of thinking about traveling, do so safely and all of the other stuff I'm supposed to say right now before that, okay? You know what? I think I'm basically done. I definitely sugarcoated some things here, guys. But again, I'm trying to cover my ass because I really want Witchery Wednesdays to continue. To come on here every Wednesday, go on live, talk about certain things. So I'm going to keep this one as is right now. Thank you guys so very much for joining in. I really hope that a lot of the information, although it was kind of all over the place, did help you in some form or fashion understand what it is that we are walking into. Be wary of these blackouts. Stock your fridges just in case. Back all of your internet up. Be prepared for all of the various tabloids of our celebrities, politicians, so on and so forth, really messing up. Long story short, there is going to be a lot of ruckus in the media regarding children's tapes. I'm going to let you fill in that blank in time. Okay. Airport closures, discussions of by the end of February. And again, really focus on replacing the facts with what you truly believe is right. We have to become self-sufficient and you have to give into your authenticity by actually working, revising, replacing old habits with the new ones that are more so aligning to your path. And please, please accept the fact that people are not exactly the people that you have an idea of them to be, because if you knew, you wouldn't be contemplating their existence in your life and you're going to just slowly walk away from them. And that's okay. You guys will probably rekindle again later on in life, just so you know. This is looking like a very solitary time because any togetherness in the collective is just going to cause an uproar. So on that note, also be wary of any protests and things like that that are going to start slowly, but yet not so gradually, becoming a lot more impulsive, angry, righteous, proud, ready. I don't know. I'm on neither side of this, guys. I just work here. I'm just meant to deliver a lot of these messages. I'm told no tarot, by the way, too. So I am, in fact, going to end this here. Thank you guys again for joining in. I do appreciate it. Let me know if there's any particular topic you guys want me to dive into next week on Witchery Wednesday. Otherwise, if you guys are into it, again, as I've mentioned like 5 times already, please join my patreon.com/KNM Witchery. That's where I really get unfiltered. And yeah, just we have some fun there. So just do that. Okay. Have a good day, guys. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Bye.